Hi, my name is Eddie. I'm refuting the claim that military branches who recruit in high school more often than not provide a deceiving future for young students who join the military. My opponent's secondary claims were young students are typically unsure of what they want to do in their future. The secondary claim was that the Army is generally unsatisfactory to most who join. And the third was that military recruiters sell the experience of military as false interpretations to the youth in high school they're recruiting in. My response to his first secondary claim is that the supports that he had from the Huffington Post, education.com, and the article by Gail B. Roman of the NBC News did not support his claims. They were actually just talking about students that were in college and universities and how they didn't know what they wanted to do, instead of students in high school that weren't sure they were going to go into the military or not. My response to his secondary secondary claim is that first, in the article "Recruiting Lies by Military Youth," was actually produced by Project Youth and Non-Military Opportunities. So it's like a project that's basically biased against the military because they're advocating for young people not to join the military. It's not just factual evidence, it's like some sort of bias in there. My opponents, another point, my opponent said that 1 million veterans had difficulty adjusting to life after 9/11. According to the article, The Difficult Transitions from Military to Civilian Life by Rich Morin. But the article actually just says that there's an increase in percentage, increase from 22 to 44%. But this was based on a survey conducted to 1,853 veterans that were after 9/11. So I don't know where he got the number 1 million veterans. I looked all over, but it said that the survey was just off of those veterans. And my response to the third secondary claim is that he was talking about the project the ABC did about bad recruiting. It was actually an article by Rod Powers talking about that project, and this article was called Bad Recruiting. But the thing is that this project only took place in 3 states, which is only 3 states out of 50. So we don't know what happened in the other 50 states, in the other 47 states. The 3 states were New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And the project that also was conducted in recruiting stations, not high schools. So this is showing if they were deceptive at recruiting stations and not at high. It doesn't show whether or not they're deceptive at high schools. Also, Rod Powers says in the article Bad Recruiting that in his opinion, only a small percentage of recruiters actually lie to the applicants. He says that they do that in order to meet a quota that of the amount of people they need to get recruit. Well, I think that my opponent was trying to show that military branches do that, but he didn't do a good job in his argument, and or in some points of his argument. And I just pointed out what some points that refute his explanations.
All right, the structural stuff is good. The challenge on the first point to its relevance really seems to be that all the evidence that's cited on that first point really refers to people's career uncertainties, not about their attitudes toward the military. And that seems like a pretty reasonable explanation of what's going on there, although I think you could be more precise, especially since you have gone and looked at the evidence that the advocate used to remind us exactly what the content of those quotes was, so we can see, in fact, that that is what's happened here, that the advocate is basically equivocating that this is talking about their uncertainty about their potential service as opposed to their future careers. On the second point, you challenge the source of the evidence by suggesting that it's biased, it has some axe to grind, and so we don't know its reliability. That's a reasonable press. I think if you could show that this group had some habit of doing that or was notoriously inaccurate in reporting information, that would be helpful. I didn't understand the whole argument about veterans' difficulty to adjust, either from the advocate's point of view or from your point of view. You spent a lot of time talking about this, but it doesn't really explain how it's relevant to the recruiting issue, that some veterans have difficulty adjusting after their service or after 9/11. Well, some of them probably had some pretty traumatic service, but is that really got anything to do with the recruitment process? There's never any explanation about how that's connected, which is kind of strange because that's the exact argument that you make on the next point, which I think is a really relevant argument, and that is that the advocate's information on that particular point is about recruiting, but it's not recruiting on high school campuses. It's just the research that was done was at the recruiting location. So I think that's a good challenge on that particular point. The idea that there were only 3 states that were investigated in this, that's a legitimate press, although in the absence of any evidence on the other side, I think that undermines the argument in the long run, because you know what? 3 states versus nothing is something that we can count. On the other hand, they all happen to be 3 states located in the same general area of the country, and we're not sure if we're getting, there may be cultural differences, there may be a higher level of satisfaction and happiness with the terms under which people are recruited in other parts of the country. That's why it would be helpful to have some information that shows that this really is a unique situation. I like the piece of evidence that says only a small percentage of recruiters lie or mislead, but then you get into this whole explanation about why they would do that, and I'm not sure that's important. The acknowledgement that it happens occasionally, I don't think you can deny that those sorts of things happen. I think your attempt to minimize it is the key issue here, and that ought to be your focus. All right, thank you.